Woohoo! Happy last 28 minutes of another Manic Monday. Wasn't quite sure I was going to go live tonight, but got home, got my dinner done early, got the Benadryl in the system. Actually, no, not Benadryl today. It's actually my prescription stuff because I'm taking the day off from the center tomorrow. And so I don't have to really do anything to the late afternoon. So I can have my sinuses open overnight, and it's always good to and when 100-degree weather to basically clear out the sinuses overnight before you get back outside again. So especially we have wind here in Vegas right now, so taking extra precautions so that my eyes don't swell shut and I you know don't hack up everything. So happy Monday. Not too much going on. We have the DC, not DC, Marvel special effects people thinking about going on strike. That's going to fuck up a lot of things too. Because even though it's just Marvel's people going on strike, trust me, every major studio special effects people will be looking at what they do and what kind of solidarity they can have. So right now, any project that you guys think is coming until you see it, don't hold on to anything because all these work stoppages and collective bargaining agreements or lack thereof just might change everything. So Blue Beetle expected to pull in 30 million its opening weekend. That's up 18 million from what they thought it might pull in. I think Blue Beetle is going to break even, if not do a little bit better. The expectations are low. The budget is low. I don't know if it's going to do well in the theater, but I think at the end of its run, where PVOD or streaming, it's going to pull in its money. Blue Beetle just seems to me. I plan on seeing it on HBO Max, but those plans could change. But Blue Beetle just seems like the kind of movie when it hits PVOD or streaming. Hey, family, let's gather in the living room, grab some cheap popcorn, and watch this. For 20 or $29, family of four with your own popcorn, your own snacks, that's a bargain. So I think Blue Beetle is going to do well there. I don't know how long it's going to stay in the theater, but I don't think it's going to lose them money. It's not going to do Barbenheimer money, but I think it's going to do good enough. And if Blue Beetle hits like 250 or 300 million for a $125 million movie, that, to be honest with you, they haven't done a lot of promotion for. I know there's TV commercials and everything else, but most of those TV commercials are either on Warner Brothers' own channels or they're in partnerships where they're doing trade advertising. So I don't know. I don't think like I said, my excitement level for it is just at right now nothing. But and I'm not going to knock anybody else who's excited about it. Us brown folk, we don't have a lot of representation, so that is very important. So be keeping an eye on it. This is probably going to be a super short Midnight Express, simply because I usually don't do them on Mondays. So, hi Aaron, hi Green Lantern. Yes, William Friedkin. I was just watching a bunch of stuff about The Exorcist the other day. Me and a buddy, and we were going to do a special. We're going to do a special conversation on The Exorcist 3. And obviously, when you talk about The Exorcist 3, you have to talk about The Exorcist 1. You are okay if you forget about The Exorcist 2, The Exorcist Heretic, one of the worst horror movies ever made. But The Exorcist 3 is one of the most underrated horror movies ever made. And obviously, when you bring up anything Exorcist, you got to talk about the original, the main director. Yeah, he passed away today at 87 years old. Yes, that's tragic, and yes, we will miss him. But man, dude, if you tell me right now that I'm going to make it to my 80s and 90s, and for the most part live a high quality of life, fuck it, I'll take it. I'll take it. With so many of us getting cut short, some people not even making it into their 30s, either with diseases, COVID, suicide, all these things. If you give me a good run at 87, 88, 90, if I make it into my 90s and I'm living like William Shatner, I'll take it, man. I'll take it. So, yes, rest in peace, William Friedkin. Also directed To Live and Die in L.A., another underrated movie that really helped launch William Petersen's career in the 80s. You know what, Chappie? I think I may have had enough of you, buddy. You and your defense of Howard the Duck and my damn DMs. And no, I'm never listening to that score again. Yeah, it looks like they're not going on strike. Not going on strike. I'm sorry, I misspoke. They're unionizing. They're preparing to unionize, which would give them a collective bargaining, power to strike. They're not going on strike right now, but they're unionizing, and in order to unionize, you have to collectively bargain with producers. So it's a mess. So obviously when we were talking about our genre, science fiction, horror, and comic book movies, special effects are the king. There's not too many movies you can get away where it's just practical effects. You still have to have those special effect guys. And to be quite honest with you, special effects houses have been screwed royally by these companies the last 10 years, either by being underpaid, not paid at all, or having to work under shitty conditions. So it's time for them to unionize. Now, what that means as far as future work stoppages, you know what? At some point in time, the all sides have to sit down and develop a relationship that where they respect each other, not to have to go through this crap again. So, all right. Dude. Okay, Chappie, go listen. Exorcist 1 is a classic. It's not the scariest movie in the world for me. People think that scared them right out of their skin. Exorcist is a great movie. It's just I don't think it's scary, but it's a great movie. Forget Exorcist 2 was ever made. Just ignore it and go right to Exorcist 3, which is one of the most underrated. And actually, that movie scared me a little bit because it has some cinematography that just comes out at you. So, yeah, go see those movies, Chappie. They're great movies to see. How much longer till we start hearing about more 2023 fall and winter delays to 2024? Anytime now, JR. Anytime now. I think a lot of these are on like a whiteboard right now, and they have like little marks next to them with dates next to them that if we approach this date, we make this announcement. I don't know what order they are in, but I would say relatively soon because it just doesn't sound like we're anywhere close to getting any of these major issues resolved. Not one issue has been resolved yet. Not one issue that started this all. They say they're close on certain things, they're not close on others, but officially nothing's been resolved yet. So I would have to answer at any time now. You can start hearing things get pushed back. But please don't move Dune. That's all I have left this year. Don't move Dune. I know you guys want to promote it and all, but damn. That was basically my year right there. Oh, well. Question, will the Sci-Fi Center be doing Subspace Rhapsody special in the future like you did for Rocky Horror? Yes. Obviously, it's so new right now, I don't have the details, but yes. Yes. Yeah, Exorcist 1 is great. Exorcist 3, like I said, is just an underrated movie. It flies under a lot of radar, but it's a really... George C. Scott is in there. The guy who played the original priest that threw himself down the stairs in part 1. Spoiler alert, it's been 50 years. He's in 3. I mean, it's a great movie. They worked the VX artist. The VX artist negotiated contract studio, then request to work in an untenable timeline, so they get to work for 20 hours a day for the same pay. Yeah, and that's just, you can't do that, I find it hilarious that people are saying that DC fans move on from the Snyderverse and the Ayer cut and Gal Gadot is back as Wonder Woman. Well, I don't blame that on Gunn, because really, Gunn never said for us to move on. It's our fellow fans but why are we listening to them? Listen, don't even listen to me. All I am is a fan with a platform, but fans should never tell other fans to move on from anything. All these things mean something to you. I don't care what it is, even if it's Howard the Duck. If you love Howard the Duck and you hear me making fun of it, you take that with a grain of salt and go enjoy Howard the Duck. And I always say this on any platform I'm on. No fan has the right to tell anybody to move on from jack shit. I've always said, if you're a grown man and you want to believe in the Loch Ness Monster, the Easter Bunny, the Jockalopes, and everything else that's out there, and you're not hurting anybody, continue to believe in it. But yeah, when it comes to these things, and here's the thing: even without the fanboy logic that we apply these things to them, just as a retailer, just as a business person, I work my ass off to try to get someone to come through my door and on a regular basis to make that connection with a customer or customers. No matter, I mean, you do everything you can. Give your right arm to make the connections with customers. The last thing you ever want to do or imply is for someone to move on and go away from you. That's just stupid. Fanboys can say stupid shit like that because, like I say over and over again, they have no skin in that game. Saying something stupid on YouTube or on Twitter, worst thing you do is you disappear from YouTube or Twitter for a couple of weeks and you come back and say something even dumber the last time. But if you are an executive, I don't care if it's a major multi-billion-dollar company or a lemonade stand, the main thing you are trying to do, half of your effort is to get someone to engage with what you are selling. And you never want them to disengage, period. You want to keep them forever. You want them to bring kids into the world growing up on your stuff. So fans saying, well, people should just move on. Like I said, they have the luxury of saying stupid shit. But Warner Brothers did not have that luxury. And now they're paying for it. They told people to go, they didn't tell people to move on, but they acted in a manner that didn't engage with people. And basically, they did move on. And now here we are with, you can't put a DC movie out without wondering how much money is it going to lose. That's what, so yeah. And then, so James Gunn never really said that. He came in and said everything was on the table, and everybody's giving him crap now that he's actually looking at this as everybody on the table. And now, as far as the Ayer cut goes, listen, I saw the Suicide Squad in the movie theaters. I was fine with that movie. Now, if you are going to develop the Joker and Harley Quinn, which is like really the whole reason why the movie is even there, is to develop them for the later parts of the story, then that's fine. But if you're not going to give me a continuation to the story that you're developing for, I personally, I know I'm in a minority, don't have as much use for the Ayer cut. I know people just want to have it out there, and that's great. If it's out there, I'll support it. But for me, I'm a storyline type of guy, and I know why they made that movie. That movie was about Jared Leto's Joker and Harley Quinn and their development as they would play out later in later films. Well, we didn't get those later films, and if we're not going to get those later films, I mean, it's like, why are you wrapping me up for something that we're not going to finish? I saw The Exorcist, and it was a boring movie. That, I hear that a lot about The Exorcist. Its pacing is almost puts you to sleep, but wow, that last 15 minutes of it, that's the only thing people remember, How you doing, Jacob? Any Chupacabra believers in here? I'm a believer. I believe that Goatsucker is real. I don't know if it's the supernatural being that everybody thinks it is, but hey. Question, can you see more projects being canceled, like Metropolis reboot that supposed to be filmed in Australia? It depends on how much of it is an American project and how much of it is in the Writers Guild, Directors Guild of Australia. If they're doing solidarity with everything around the world, then yes. If not, we could be dealing with a Game of Thrones situation where not all those guys are beholden to SAG-AFTRA and WGA. I have to know the specifics first. Hey, what's going on, Fourth? Okay, so I need to be more specific here. What not bringing in money? Now, the stuff that they've done the last 5 years, no, it hasn't been. They haven't brought in money because once you be honest with you, once you deferred from what you started with, people just kind of left you for dead. That's why, if you look at it, the movies that were released after Snyder was booted, if you combine their box office with what he did, it's not a good comparison, and it's not in DC favor. Now, why do they persist? Because they're the most valuable IPs that they possessed, and they know that there's money there. If it's like why do you keep digging for gold, but 90% of the time you don't find it. They know once they hit that nugget, once they hit that 10%, they're going to be able to make a lot of money. They just haven't been able to do it. We're not just going to give up with that kind of money, hanging in the balance. I saw someone saying that the Ayer cut, when James Gunn said Ayer cut will get released, and that person said to me, if I don't want to see Ayer cut, and people should just move on. Okay, let me read this. Am I reading this wrong? Ayer cut will get released, and that person said F me, I don't want to see the Ayer cut, and people should move on. Once again, no fan has a right to tell somebody that. No fan has a right. Listen, I'm not the biggest Ayer cut guy. Because once again, I've explained why. Because if it's not, if we're not going to finish the story, why are you giving me another piece that's going to lead, to just more, more incompleteness? But if for all you guys that are wanting it, I'm supporting you. If it never happens, my life won't change. But if it happens, I'm supporting you guys with it. I'm not telling you to move on from the Ayer cut. What do I gain as an individual fan by telling you to move on from something, or by crushing your hope or something? What do I gain as an individual fan? What do we gain as a collective fan base by doing stupid stuff like that? Nothing. We're in this to have fun, not destroy people. I just want the movie I paid. Yeah, and like I said, you have that right. You have that right, and I am. Hold on for a second. I'm on board with that. I mean, for me personally, I like you said, unless we're going to lay off the groundwork to finish that storyline, then it just doesn't mean as much to me. But if you want it, you know what? I'm behind you, man. William thought in Insidious, Red Doors just became the highest grossing horror movie of 2023. I don't know the exact numbers. I'm pretty sure you'll tell me, but congrats. Thought on Oppenheimer was extended to 70mm run until August 31st. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen because that's what Christopher Nolan wanted it. Even if the movie hadn't made a lot of money, in order to get Christopher Nolan signed on to Universal for this project, they were going to give Christopher Nolan anything he wanted. Christopher Nolan could have said, you know what, I want strippers dressed as raccoons. And they would have given it to him. So, yeah, that's going to stay in. That's going to stay out there as long as Christopher Nolan wants it to. Do we feel normies will differentiate between current DC and Gunn's DCU? Not in the same way that we do. Not in the analytical sense that we do. But in the frequency and disruption. They won't focus on the details like us, but they'll focus on things like this. Like, you know what? They saw Superman. They liked the Superman. Then they didn't see him again. They saw Aquaman. They liked Aquaman. Then it was 5 years before they saw him again. And in between, that same company and that same world gave us a whole bunch of other stuff that nobody really cared about, and that bombed. And they won't know the details. They won't, analyze that, but they'll say, "Oh, there's a new Superman." Now, the ones that don't get confused and think, "Oh, well, it looks just like the same guy," that okay, I'm okay with that. But for the ones that recognize the fact that that's not the one that they bought into years ago, they're going to be like, And at some point, even in the periphery, it just becomes so jumbled that I don't think it confuses them because I don't believe in the whole confusion aspect. But I just think if you do not lay the proper groundwork, these have the perception of them becoming more complicated and more time consuming as an investment than they are. You've made yourself into trigonometry, and eventually the guy looking at it will just be like, you know what, let me go on an easier topic. So they can differentiate in that fashion, but not like us. But what hurts DC is that even the normal fan can figure out that things are messed up because they don't get it. They don't get the product. They haven't gotten Superman in a while. And I don't care whether you're online or offline, when you haven't gotten something. The majority of people who made up the box office successes or any of DC movies are normies. So when they don't have something that they liked or that they enjoyed for this long, it tends to affect them. So I don't know if they'll differentiate as far as like the actual product itself, especially with it being so far away. But I think it will affect their reapproach to these things. Are they going to engage again? I mean, with comic book movies, if you don't have frequency, you generally don't have shit. If there's one thing that the MCU has proven, whether it would be, you can make a argument on whether what the quality of what their output has been sometimes, but there has been frequency. Since 2008, there has been an increasing consistent frequency that has not allowed the normal fan to drift away and disengage. That is not the same for DC. Now you have to do triple the work to get the normal fan to re-engage again. And while you're doing that, you're reminding him of all the stuff. Now it's like, oh, wait a minute. So yeah, you got an issue there that they're going to have to fight. Well, I thought on Angel Manuel Soto revealed that James Gunn and Peter Safran never altered the Blue Beetle. I think we're smart. We were smart right off the bat into making a standalone. That's great, but it's a standalone that's Blue Beetle. James Gunn and Safran are doing something new, so they don't really need to connect anything to anything if they didn't want to. They should, but if they weren't going to do it with the actual known commodity characters, I doubt they were going to do it with the unknowns. But as far as making a standalone, I don't know if smart is the word for it, because now you have this movie, out there without any support for it. And on the one side, you can be, hey, well, it's not connected to anything. It doesn't have the burden of expectation. But on the other hand, that just shows you where your product is. But like I said, at the end of the day, the biggest hurdle that Blue Beetle has is that it's Blue Beetle. I don't know if it being a standalone helps it. I think being connected to, and having other characters in the movie would do just the same thing that it does for him in the comics. Nobody cares about Blue Beetle on his own. You only care about Blue Beetle when he's in Justice League or JLI or something like that. Same thing with Booster Gold. People can profess their love for these two characters, but you put them on a book on their own, they get canceled. And it's like you don't want to watch the Air Cut Suicide Squad, then don't watch it, but some of us do. That's what I say about any of this stuff. Listen, there's a lot of garbage out there on all sorts of platforms. I can waste my oxygen and my brain power railing about it, or I can just, spend that energy working, railing about things I like. I'd rather talk about the last voyage of the Demeter that I'm going to see this Wednesday than talk about Barbie. I'm never going to see Barbie. All right, I'm not going to give Barbie 10 minutes of my time, but I'm not going to go say, God, Barbie's woke. Don't go see Barbie. All that pink. Screw you guys. You guys are in it. Nope. Not going to do that. It's not for me. It very rarely is going to come up more than a minute or so in a conversation. I'm just not going to go see it. I'm going to take that energy and go see something I like. And that's what I don't understand with all these other guys. They and I know why, because they can make money and get clicks off of it. But so much energy is put into stuff that you don't like. I mean, I don't know. If you don't want to watch the Air Cut, like I said, I'll watch the Air Cut. I just, like I said, significance-wise, I just don't see its significance outside of the overall story that it was meant to fit into. And that's why I thought it would never get released. But I always supported, hey, if you guys want to see it, let's see it. And if it comes out and I don't like it, I just, hey, I feel incomplete still. You know what? But I'm not gonna do an entire stream, or I'm never gonna go tell a fan to disengage from something he wants to. That's literally what a fan is. I feel like Suicide Squad extended cut the movie, but I'm very interested in seeing me. Yeah, a lot of people are. You unfortunate storyline of Harley leads into Birds of Prey. Not really. It was not supposed to. It ended up being that way, and that's called mismanagement. But those characters, that character along with Jared Leto's Joker was designed to fit in to a later part of the storyline. William thought of the overall 2023 domestic box office has passed $6 billion, increase from last year over the same 7-month period. No thoughts at all, really. Now I want to see strippers dressed as raccoons. Hey, there you go. It's Vegas. We can make it happen. And to be honest, I like the Suicide Squad extended cut more than James Gunn's. I actually like James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie. I just didn't think it needed to be released. I like Shazam. It's a lot of these movies that I've liked, and I've seen all the DC movies that have come out. I didn't think they were bad movies. I just didn't think that they were released in situations that gave them a real shot at success. And if you look at most of the movies that have been released since in 2017, most of them have struggled financially. And the ones that did do well were residual effects over from the previous storylines. Wonder Woman and Aquaman did well. Who brought those to the table? It wasn't Hamada. It wasn't, Jeff John. It wasn't any of those guys who ran the show for the, the 5 years that followed. You can clearly see their box office results. Suicide Squad was a good movie. Lost the money. Birds of Prey. Shazam. Both Shazam. I like both movies. But if we're talking in a business sense, neither one of those movies should have been made when they were. And neither one of them should have been released when they were. And the math shows you that. That's not Williams' opinion on stuff. That's the math. And what I always say about math is undefeated. It doesn't lose to fanboys. Jacob, what thoughts the intentional creator Robert Kirkman says it was really important to change the race of some characters from their comic counterparts. There's a real lack of diversity. I really don't. I mean, that's him. That's the creator. So beyond the fact that that's what he's saying, I mean, I don't have any real feelings. I never was really interested in Invincibles, even as a comic when it came out in 2003. To be honest with you, I just find it hilarious now because they got the cartoon that people are just now in the last couple of years realizing that it even exists. But I didn't watch the TV show. I skimmed through it and I read the comics. And I just really never. It's one of those things that Image put out that just never grabbed me. So I don't. I really don't know a lot about it. Sorry. How you doing, Beltray? If the Titans show up to recruit Blue Beetle, then I can see it being a curiosity watch. Not even that. I mean, I can see it being a watch, but I'm not going to spend money just for that. I can see that on Max. William, did you see a group of more than 50 on-set VFX? Yeah, we were talking about that today, just before you came in. Yeah, and that's going to have a domino effect. Because that's how unions grow. Once one breaks through, you're going to see, and eventually you'll probably see an entire union, a collective union, and not just one for Marvel. You're going to see one that has global impact, and that's going to change some things because once these unions and things start happening, the producers and the studios can't justify everything that they can justify before. If they could screw a certain faction, they say, hey, you know what? We know that we could get our VFX done for this price. And then once you collect the bargaining and it jumps up like 25 to 30%, that's not coming out of their share. That's going to come out of our share. As a moviegoer, we're going to get less stuff. And we're going to get less middle of the road. We're going to get less, stuff from those companies. Because instead of taking a cut out of their end, they're just going to cut projects. Which is going to be unfortunate, but I think that's what's going to happen either way. See, still don't know if they should have greenlit Blue Beetle in the first place. C-level character, which the blame on in-ring. I don't think they should have. I don't think they should have greenlit. I don't think you should ever greenlit these characters unless you have a plan going forward with your main characters. And everybody told me that those guys had a plan, but and everybody said, well, it's he was going to do this big old crisis thing, and everybody just couldn't wait for it. I'm like, I'm sorry, you had 5 years. It's not like you had 6 months and then things went south. That Hamada, Emmerich, those guys had 5 years. They had 5 years, and they chose not to utilize certain characters. So they did not have a balanced attack plan. If you're going to give me Blue Beetle, if you're going to give me Shazam, if you're going to give me, Gleek the Wonder Monkey, then that's fine. But at the same time, that game plan better include at the same time Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, all those characters, and then it just didn't. They put the priority on characters that people just didn't have a connection with, and hid the other ones, and that's where we're at. Where we're at. Well, thought on Ridley Scott regrets directing Alien Covenant over Blade Runner 2049. I shouldn't have had to make that decision, but I had to. I should have done Blade Runner 2. Listen, Ridley, I love him and all. I think he's up there. I think he's one of he's consistently in my top 2 directors of all time. But I disagree with him there. I think Denis Villeneuve did an awesome job. I think Denis gave us the movie that only he could give us. Ridley Scott, I will always be grateful to him for the inspiration of Blade Runner and how Blade Runner and giving everybody a template to go forward with it. But I can't unsee what Denis Villeneuve did. He was the guy for the moment. So I'm glad it turned out the way it did, personally. Blue Beetle's a good character in the comics. He's a good support character. You don't propel your franchise on Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle is a support character in the comics, and any single success that he's had is derivative from what he gets, the light he gets from being part of the Justice League. Same thing with Booster Gold. There's a lot of characters that are out there that the Justice League gave cover to. But, when you're talking about a cinematic universe, you only have so much time to tell a story and only so many movies in a given time to tell that. And if you're going to spend that money, you need to increase your odds of it being successful. The Talking Raccoon and the Talking Tree, their odds of success were increased by the infrastructure of the MCU. You take all the MCU movies away, the 9 or 10 that preceded it, you don't even get Guardians of the Galaxy made because no one's giving you money for the Talking Raccoon and the Talking Tree without the success of the MCU that preceded it. So it's the same thing when you're talking about the Blue Beetle. It doesn't matter how good the movie might be. Shazam was a great movie. But the expectations for DC Comics and DC Films are that big black bat or that big red S. If the average moviegoer looks around and they don't see them in the vicinity, now they got to start Googling people and finding out who the hell Barbara Cord is or who the hell Ted Cord is or who the hell, once your customer has to go to the Google, instead of, starting out with instantly recognizable characters and having them lead you to the Blue Beetle, having them lead you to Shazam, and having them connect with the Wonder Twins and all that, then you have a problem. You could do these movies. You could even do the sillier ones. But if you don't have the infrastructure of the Trinity in there, you're gambling with hundreds of millions of dollars. And so far, it hasn't turned out well for them. Yes, we talked about at the beginning. Like I said, at $125 million and really no ad budget, I don't see Blue Beetle losing money. I don't know how much it's going to make. I don't think it's going to make in the hundreds of millions, maybe. I don't know, but it doesn't need much. If it pulls in $30 million domestically, you're not okay. So now you're talking about $30 million domestically. You got a lot of Latin countries that are going to chime in for this movie. So you could pull in 60, maybe 60 the first weekend. Legs wise, I don't know how much it's going to have because it is Blue Beetle. But once again, you're not going to make all your money back necessarily on the theatrical release. Also, like I said before, you might have missed it, Anthony. This is the perfect movie to sit at home and watch a family with for $20 or $24. This is the perfect movie because, like I said, not everybody can take a family of 4 or a family of 3 or a family of 5 to the movies with that cost, especially if they're going to see other movies and all these other movies are packed together. Blue Beetle might make a considerable amount of its money on video on demand, on PVOD. And then it'll strengthen HBO Max. We'll all be seeing it. But I don't think it's going to lose money. Like I said, I don't know how much it's going to make. I could guess. But I don't think it's going to lose money. I don't think it's going to hurt them. And I think this is the perfect movie to grab the kids on a Saturday night depending on what your kids' age are. Hey, let's watch Blue Beetle. Let's take your 7-year-old and your 10-year-old. Let's watch Blue Beetle with the family. Let's pop down. I think what is it, $25 for a VOD? Some of them are $29, even at $30. $30 compared to what you pay in the theater, it's a bargain. So I think Blue Beetle is going to make its money back and possibly cross into the black on back end stuff. And who knows how many people will see it in the theaters. Like I said, representation is big. It is big. Now, all the other movies that have been, that high representation have been generally top tier characters, though. So we're not talking about a Black Panther situation, or we're not talking about a Miles Morales situation. We are still talking about Blue Beetle. Those IPs people could connect to because they knew who they were. So it's hard to say. I mean, I think it'll break even. At the least, it'll break even. Possibly more. Birds of Prey was decent for Harley Quinn animated series. Much better. Birds of Prey was horrible. But hey, if you liked it for Chappie, I thought there were great performances in Bird of Prey. Hers and Ewan McGregor's. Everybody else I just thought was rushed out of place and jammed in. I still like SS more than SS still. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I enjoyed the Suicide Squad, but I also enjoyed David Ayer's, Suicide Squad. It does, same way it does in Peacemaker as well. But that was the task for that movie. And I just think with different goals, you might get a different outcome. But then again, I thought even though there was a lot of humor in the Suicide Squad, there was a lot of substance in the Suicide Squad. I really love the stuff with Starro. I really love the fact that I really wish they would have focused more on that, on the fact that they, Mankind was really the real villain in that movie and not Starro. But hey, who knows? We might get another shot at it. Fun. I remember more scenes in Guns SS than Ayers. Gunn made us care about the character, like Polka Dot Man and even Starro. Yeah. Now, in David Ayer's, in fairness to David Ayer, James Gunn's movie wasn't cut up and butchered. So I can't say that you would not have cared more about the characters more in his version and Ayer's version, because so much of it was cut up, taken out of substance, taken out of flow. Whereas James Gunn wasn't given that kind of harassment. So if that's one thing that if we do watch the Ayer cut, that's one advantage that you might have, is you might get a deeper sense of the characters in his version. But I can't fairly judge them side by side because one was butchered and one wasn't. All right, well, I disagree. Your math presentation of Shazam, Black Adam, and the Flash look like bombs to me. There's a flare that directors have visually that wasn't represented in those films. Yeah, but there's a lot of movies that made shit tons of money that had that same issue and they were fine. The problems with the Flash weren't that. Even if I can see and say fine, whatever what you're saying. The biggest problem that Shazam had was Shazam. The biggest problem Black Adam had, and I said this before it was released and while we were promoting it, was that it was Black Adam. And the Flash, by the time you got to the Flash, you had damaged the brand so bad that people just weren't like, you know what? I might see your movie on a different platform, but I'm not going to spend the triple digits to go see it. And that's going to carry over. That could carry over to Blue Beetle. I hope not. That's unfortunate. I think it's going to carry over to Aquaman, and I think it's going to carry over to the first round of movies that James Gunn does. It's just going to take time for people to believe in DC again. How you doing, Daniel? What's going on? Blue Beetle works better as a TV show on CW. I think Blue Beetle it looks to me from everything I've seen that it's an HBO Max thing. That's where it should have stayed. But hey, they wanted to push the envelope. They added more money to the budget, so let's see what they come out with. Have you caught Greg Silverman on Twitter defending Snyder's movies, saying that they were all profitable except for Sucker Punch and Owls? Yeah, we've known this for quite a while. He's the money guy. I'm gonna, I think he was a CFO. He was in the room with the money. He's closer to the situation than all the anti-Snyder people and all the pundits that want to tell you that Zack Snyder's movies bombed. You only have to be able to count on your fingers and toes to know that wasn't true. But like I said, we apply the fanboy logic, and we don't have the brain capacity to separate what Marvel was doing and their goals and what they were dealing with, and view DC for what it was. Everything DC had to be Marvel, and Marvel 4 years into their game, finally getting their $1 billion movie. That's where DC had to start out with. And like I said, the money guys, the people who analyze these things, had a different perspective on it because they were there. And they're not looking at DC's accomplishment through Marvel lenses. Fans were doing that. Certain unqualified execs, all of whom have been departed, were doing that. And then pundits and other YouTubers were doing that. And that created a perception that Snyder's movies bombed. And when all you have to do is a third grade math pass would have been able to show you that wasn't the case. But we took that ball and ran with it. Saw The Flash last night. Epic movie. No wonder Gunn loved it. I enjoyed The Flash. Was it a perfect movie? Nah. Was it the best comic book movie of all time? Nah, but I had a lot of fun. That's what I go to the movies for. I agree. Definitively did amazing. Yeah, he did. I mean, I can't imagine anyone else directing that now after only seeing him. Would love to be a fly on the wall as Hamada and Emmerich discussed greenlighting Wonder Twins movie over Superman. We definitely die. Yeah, you were going to give me Gleek the fucking monkey. You were going to give me a blue monkey before you gave me Batman and Superman again. I think that is some of the, I don't think animosity, but that's some of my disdain when it comes to Blue Beetle. I'm getting Blue Beetle, a third-level support character, filler character in Justice League, before I get the meat and potatoes of Justice League again. That's probably a lot of where I'm deflated about Blue. I don't hate Blue Beetle. I don't hate the concept of Blue Beetle. I hate the concept of Blue Beetle being put where it was put while we waited and begged and pleaded to see Superman and Batman again. And then we'll say, then people will be like, well, you guys are proving that these movies need to be rebooted. You didn't go see them. You know what? We went to see these movies. Every geek I know went to see these movies. The casual fan is like, huh? Who blew what? So, yeah, we dodged a bullet there, but, we didn't dodge all the bullets. Beetle should be released on Max with build-up of Titans members. Max feels like a dead service. Max is my favorite one. Now, I will agree that Zaslav's mentality about putting new content on Max makes it feel like a dead service, but he's going to learn that lesson. I'm sorry. I know he's got tons more millions than I do. He's educated, Ivy League, all that stuff like that. But I'm sorry, that's bullshit. Standing up in front of people and saying that it doesn't show that spending money on direct streaming content is profitable because you're using a box office mentality that does not apply to 2023, and that will apply less and less as we move on into the century. Collective advantage, what you can maintain as a collective consistent revenue stream, that is going to be what matters. Eventually he's going to have to realize that, and he's going to have to invest in event level stuff that's exclusively on his streaming service. I just don't understand it. Yeah. And by him not doing that and him taking stuff like that creates the perception of a dead service, even though I still think it's the best service out there. I'm looking forward to Blue Beetle now. I'm like I said, I am not going to shit on Blue Beetle for all the reasons I told you guys wouldn't, but I just don't have that excitement of I just don't have that anticipation. That could change. There's more of a chance of me seeing Blue Beetle than seeing Barbie. I mean, Barbie's at 0. Blue Beetle, I think there's a good 25% chance I'll see Blue Beetle in theaters. And a lot of that will depend on the promotion of it. If they give us like 50 plus seats to go see it, then I'll go.
because I'm not going to have 50 of our people at a theater without being there, to represent the center. But if they don't, then max it is. See, I love Alien. I don't know if it's scary. Like, everybody's different, but I don't know. I'd say the scariest movie ever made for me is The Thing. But Alien's up there, man. Alien scared the shit out of me because there was more than one, and they were coming out of everywhere. I hear the Flash. I want to get some numbers on this later on during the week. I hear the Flash is actually doing pretty good on PVOD. That's another thing. Blue Beetle does have a China release date, which some of these other movies did not. Black Adam didn't get. I don't believe Black Adam get a China release. So did the Flash release in China? I don't feel like looking it up now, but yeah, it just getting movies in China are no longer a guaranteed thing. So that's if you can get in there. Like I said, Flash wasn't a perfect, but the reasons I was hearing the Flash getting bashed, I thought were just like, okay, seriously, like the CGI stuff. People, like I said, you got fools bringing their phones, showing other people, look at the bad CGI on a shaky phone that they weren't even supposed to have in there, and then you had the dummies saying, "Oh wow, that looks awful. I think I'll send this one out." Listen, Black Panther is one of my favorite all-time comic book movies. That fight scene with Killmonger at the end, go ahead and take a look at the CGI in that. It ain't great, but it didn't jam up the movie for me. It didn't take one iota of satisfaction from that movie. Even though some of the CGI during that fight scene, and there are some other scenes in there, wasn't very good for a movie with that kind of budget. But did it destroy the enjoyment of Black Panther? No, because I didn't let it. So there you go. Back End isn't a great success. The studios will take it, but it doesn't say the characters was a success. They don't care about that, Fourth. They do not give two shits about that. They care about getting as much of their money on a platform that they get the percentage of it the most. They don't. You can't judge whether a character was a success by those means anyway. Because, okay, so say for instance, if the back end money absolutely does mean this. Here's why. A family of four did not necessarily not go see that movie with that character because they thought the character sucked. They may have not been able to see it because they couldn't afford it at that price. Now, you could say it's not a success if it doesn't get any money on the back end. But if it's successful on the back end, on video on demand and on streaming, you can definitely gauge whether that character was a success or not. It's the same way you could gauge whether Doom was a success. It did make the most money in the theaters, but it did well in enough formats that people understood that the circumstances may have dictated how much money that it made in theaters. So yeah, you can actually. Question: can you see a time where Hollywood can break away from doing business with China and opt into doing business with India instead? India is not the most stable situation either. I see them being in a position where they just stop focusing on Asia and Southwest Asia in general, outside of like Japan, South Korea, and all that. I know they want that money, and they'll but I think their hopes. I think they're going to start metering whether it's not going to be like as soon as we get this released in China, that way we can make our money back. I think the reality of China closing up a lot of its opportunities, I think these studios are going to have to make that adjustment. That you know what, we need to make this movie and as if it's never going to be released in China, and if we get it in China, great. Or like places like India, Pakistan, the instability and the dollar in their market make it to almost the same situation. Whereas Japan is different, South Korea is different. They're different societies. But I think it's time for Hollywood to have zero expectations that some of these movies are going to be released in China or India. Blue Beetle equals Hispanic hero, who probably why was made trying to do what Black Panther did. But like I said, I don't know what the mentality was in making Blue Beetle. To be honest with you, I'll never understand that. But when you made Black Panther, you're making one of the first maybe 15 or 16 characters that were created in Marvel Comics. One of the ones that were directly created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. One of the earliest comic book, characters that they had to deliver. And during the 50 years prior to his movie being made, was a top tier character. So Blue Beetle is not. Blue Beetle is the antithesis of what Black Panther was, as far as that goes. I thought Starro could have been better, though. He didn't have a lot of screen time, but what screen time it had was moving. Suicide Squad 16 was really good and definitely better than the critics make it out to be. Yeah. What's up? How you doing, Azteca? It was not a comparison one, the finished product, and the other one was chopped up in the... Yeah, that's what we were talking about, those two Suicide Squad movies. The best Suicide Squad is still animated Assault on Arkham. You have fun with that. On the back end, yeah. Let's see. Watchmen was 2009. Let's see what Watchmen did. Because I know Watchmen didn't make a whole lot of product, but it was profitable. Yeah. So budget was 130 to 150. I remember actually talking with the Warner Brothers exec. It was nowhere near 150. It was probably closer to 130. And it made 185, so not a huge profit. And remember, this is one of my very, 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 very first movies that I promoted with Warner Brothers. We didn't get a lot for this because not a lot of people knew what The Watchmen was. I took a bunch of people to Watchmen that did not know what the fuck Watchmen was at all, period. Most of the people that, if you were not a comic book geek at the time, you did not know what Watchmen was. So it was a bold decision for them to make that movie at all. But one of the things that I do know is that physical media-wise, Watchmen has done great. Watchmen is money. You already made your $50 million profit right there just from the box office. But Watchmen has released and released and released. In fact, they just released another cool-ass edition a couple years ago, and they all sell. They all sell. And we're talking in $2009. So it didn't do, like I said, it's not Barbenheimer money, but it was profitable. All right. Yeah. A lot of people want to see it. I saw it on IMAX, or close to an IMAX screen that I could get to. That's the way he filmed it. So. I really don't want to hear this guy's name ever again. Kevin Tijara's name has as much value to me as 1986 Howard the Duck does. They literally have the same value to Marvel, or to Marvel, not to Marvel, to DC, as Howard the Duck 1986 had to that. That one bad hire, Kevin Tijara, that one bad hire put us where we are today. Yeah, home media was seriously profitable because I remember I have several editions of Watchmen, and every time they release it, it's cooler. I think people forgot the movie studio make a lot of money on it. Yeah, and like I said, the studio gets the majority of the cut, so they're greedy. By adding Pops on Casino, so that's called one of the best soundtracks of all time. So does Watchmen. I do think Zaslav was right, though. Streaming might be profitable, which is why studios don't want to reveal numbers. I think it's the other way around. I think streaming is profitable, and by releasing the numbers, he will have to give up more of the cut. Once you let people know how successful something is, if they're part of that success, they're going to want more of their cut. So, no, I think streaming is profitable. There's really no way it can't be. Yes, yeah, we covered his death. Dead at 87. He left a mark on the world, definitely. Yeah. Wonderful. Oh, everything's old. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, and you know what? I don't look on I don't look upon Wonder Woman or Black Panther a success, even though the most important scenes, some of the most important scenes on the movie, had some bad CGI. Don't really think about it. You can't judge me by someone doesn't watch a movie. If I'm getting charged $2, I want. Yes, I can. If the majority of that sentiment is being pushed through bullshit memes, like somebody's fucking cell phone or hacked copies of it. Before, I heard people bitching and moaning about CGI before we started our advanced screenings, so I knew a lot of that was bullshit. If a movie only makes back-end money at best, straight-to-home video sequel like Blade Runner 25 should not have been made. Back-end is only... No, not necessarily, dude. You're using dinosaur logic. You're using dinosaur logic. You're using old terms. And not only back-end money, because Blade Runner made a slight profit. But it also made, on when it was released on Blu-ray through Warner Brothers, it made another $22 million the first week. And it's been selling since then. And it was on Vudu. It was on all the shit, and it did well on those markets. So you can't say necessarily where it was made, but you can also, when you're justifying the budgets of a movie, you can also justify, because you can't think like a caveman and be like, well, if it only makes this in box office, then we can't do anything. These studios own several platforms to show these movies on. They're not going to stop counting the money until it has filtered through all of those platforms. And studios don't believe, they don't use the word cult success. It's all money to them. So that back end money is massive to these companies. It is massive to you. You cannot think in 1989 box office, terms when you're trying to understand just how massive that is. Only somebody who's sitting in a movie theater seat can come to that kind of mentality. If you're the one counting the money, you don't stop counting until the money stops being made. Period. And when you're talking about 6 or 7 movies being released every other week, and in a reality where your movie may not get seen by a good percentage of families because they can't afford to, you damn sure are going to be counting that back in money. And that's definitely going to be a major part of whether you do a sequel or whether other projects like that even get made. Like I said, stop thinking in 1988 terms and come into 2023 with me. He's always trolling. What do you think would have happened if Jeff Robinov? Oh my God! Just don't torture me with this. And Alan Horan would have stayed in Warner Brothers, especially when Zack Snyder. We would be in a different world. I might even be on this show because I came on to YouTube because I was watching people who were trying to figure out what the hell happened with all this. We would be living in a completely different world because those guys knew what the hell they were doing. I know nothing about Watchmen, but I went to see it. Okay, not everybody's you and me fourth. Visually, it had Je ne sais quoi. I almost said Je ne sais quoi, which sorely lacking in these current DC movies. Anything that Gunn had made, but like I said, a lot of people didn't know what the hell it was and still went and saw it. So, yeah, you're right. But at the same time, that was still a risk. Just because it paid off doesn't mean that wasn't a huge risk. A superhero movie with no known superheroes in it, that just doesn't happen. And you see what happens when they make superhero movies with no known superhero movies. The fact that they do it in the modern era and it usually bombs, that's how good Zack Snyder was with what he was doing. Flop won 2 Academy Awards, is led to a TV show, an animated TV show, and it's about, like I said, as soon as the strike is over, it's going to lead to Blade Runner 2099. on Amazon. See, this proves my point. The people who have the information are looking at all the information when they made their next step with Blade Runner. Since Blade Runner 2049 flopped, it has inspired 2 separate projects, 4 comic books from that one flop. So they were successful in enough places to go forward. And I'll just leave it at that, you know? Oh, it definitely did gangbusters on home. In fact, HBO Max, fuck you guys. You bastards. I really enjoy watching Blade Runner 2049 on Mac. God, I bought it on digital. So I have it. I know that. And I know it did well on digital because I saw the digital numbers. And I saw I saw the on-demand numbers and I saw the physical numbers. They were great. You took that off of HBO Max so I can't watch it easily. You know why you took it off HBO Max? Everybody, because it flopped, right? Because they sold it somewhere else. So somebody desired Blade Runner 2049 on their platform because HBO Max, a Warner Brothers company, took a Warner Brothers Sony movie and sold it to somebody else. Let me see. Is it back on there yet? That kind of made me slightly mad. Even though I'm happy because that means, people still desire 2049. Yeah, let's see. Blade Runner, is it back on here? Because I was kind of angry. No. They took both Blade Runners off and sold them. They hoard them out. Both Blade Runners are not on there no more. Not 2049, and those are movies, and it's not because nobody was watching Blade Runner 2049, because I know it's on 2 different formats now, and those formats had to buy it from them. Bastards. Are you talking to me or are you talking to Daniel? And which post you talking about? I think I read your full post, but you have plenty of time to clarify. I think unless you're talking to Daniel. Well, Catching Teacher I should work at a theme park company before when he was hired. And yeah, it still shouldn't have been him though. That was a horrible decision. All right, I'm going to skip down. From Google, despite proving to be a box office disappointment, Blade Runner 2049 is considered one of the best sci-fi movies of the 21st century, and a worthy sequel to the classic original. But once again, we're not dealing in those terms anymore. Success right now, to be honest with you, like success on the internet and YouTube is there's going to be box office because we're still thinking like we're back in the Reagan administration. But to an overall accounting aspect of it, they're looking at everywhere this movie makes money. There are so many ways a movie makes money now that fans only think at the box office and that's it. They are pimping these movies out to other streaming services, competing streaming services. They all got these backdoor deals and they're all buying content from each other. And like I said, they're making money. And Blade Runner is another one. You're about to release Blade Runner 2099. When it's this, guess what the interest in 2049, Blade Runner Black Lotus, and the original Blade Runner is going to do? It's going to jump. So you're making money on top of money. You're going to have people who hadn't ever seen Blade Runner, even though I don't know how you exist in this world, but you're going to have people who've never seen Blade Runner that are going to be going onto these platforms to see it again. So you're making revenue off of a 42-year-old movie. That's how you guys need to look at success now. Box office is important, but once again, not as much to the studios as it is to everybody else. Because while it sits in the box office, they got to pay out people. They don't get all that. $1 billion movie doesn't necessarily mean $1 billion to the studio. They can't wait to slap that thing on PVOD. They can't wait to get that on one of their streaming services. They can't wait to get that on one of their networks where they can start charging ad revenue. I don't know how many damn times I'm going to see Wonder Woman and Aquaman on one of these channels. And why? Because some network wanted it and they charge ad revenue. So we're not even thinking about all that kind of money that's being made on these things. But they are. We only talk about, box office bomb. We don't talk about the complete autopsy and the postmortem of a movie. But thank God Kevin Tishihara is gone because he got fired over casting couch. Yeah, he should have been fired over other stuff, but yeah, he ended up back in his lucky money. No, it isn't. Oh, dude, you're just messing with me right now. That is not lucky money. You and I get lucky. These greedy mofos know where the money is coming from. They hedge their bets, man. They don't even listen. Most of the time, they're not even going to greenlit some of these high-end projects if they don't know that they don't have 4 or 5 revenue streams separate from the box office already set up. They know. And once again, the theatrical box office is great, but at the same time, when you start bringing it in-house, when you start taking it out of those platforms that you have to split it up, and you start getting your dividends start to increase and your profit margin increase, it's worth more to you on those platforms because you get the vast majority of the money. And a lot of these deals that are set up with the Scarlett Johanssons and all the stars and all the people who, if they make a certain amount of money in the box office, they don't have that on streaming. They might have to subscribe, but as of now, they don't have all that. So they're getting top dollar from these other formats that they're not necessarily getting. And they get to eat their cake, they have their cake and eat it. They get to make some money in the box office, and then they get to turn around and make a higher percentage of their money back on these other platforms. And like I said, video on demand is not a joke. For a single guy like me who's just going to go to the movies anyway, but for people with kids and schedules and all that stuff, that PVOD is a big, big market. And trust me when I tell you, when they greenlight these movies, they are considering that when they do so. What did you think of John Burr being alongside Jeff Gunn? I think it was a disaster. I think both of those gentlemen were disasters in the roles that they were at. That's it. That's all I can tell you. I wish we lived in an era where they greenlit not as well known Superman Providence theatrical again. They just can't take that risk. They cannot take that risk. And like I said, we've seen what happens when they do. Out of order. Now, if you're saying if they greenlit lesser known characters after they've established their known characters, then that's fine. But if you try to do it the other way around, you end up losing hundreds of millions of dollars like they're about to. Will there be a new theatrical Blade Runner movie? No. Well, I don't know. Not necessarily. That we don't know that. Proving my point there. Not necessarily, dude. But okay, but you're trying to say that a back-end earner is not a big earner, and that it's not a big percentage of what they're taking in. That counts. And the percentage of that back-end money is higher for them because it's not contractually connected to a lot of different things. So the fact that, and we don't know that they're never get. If Dune does well, you better not delay Dune, Warner Brothers. If Dune does well and possibly get contends for Oscars, Denny will be able to come to them and say, you know what? I think I want to make a Blade Runner 3. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to give him the Christopher Nolan treatment. They're going to give him anything he wants. If he gets a statue for Dune 2, whether it be for best movie or best director, and he wants to do Dune and Blade Runner 2099 or whatever, or 20 whatever, he's going to get it. He's going to get it, or they risk him doing something of that ilk somewhere else. So yeah, we can't discount that there'd ever be another Blade Runner. But like I said, just because they're putting it on other platforms and making money off it, that's money. That is 2023. William thought on the Las Vegas Lakers have maintained a level of interest in signing free agent big man Christian Wood. I like Christian Wood. I think he fit alongside Anthony Davis is fine. Lakers are only capable of offering him league minimum contract. Yeah, but Christian Wood, I think he's got one. Does he got one ring? I think Christian Wood he's got enough money. I think Christian Wood has. I know he's actually from UNLV, as a matter of fact. So I got to see him play. Christian Wood, 1995, 27 years old. Let's see. So he's closing in on 27. He's in what should be the prime of his career. And I think he wants to be on a winner. If he signs a small contract and he's effective, then he can sign a big one later on, and the Lakers will have his bird right. Yeah, I'm tired of rumors too. Still blow how Kevin Stitchy blew away how Kevin Stitchy and Tommy didn't get fired along the. You know what? They AT&T didn't care, and like I said, the previous management didn't care. Yeah, Black Adam actually did pretty well on digital. What's the Flash's digital numbers? Where did I go to? How is the Flash on? Flash digital success can help with box office results. Let's see. Oh, they put it on a Batman bundle too? Apparently, it's doing very well. I'm looking at the numbers. There's a lot of different charts on here, but apparently it's doing pretty well. And like I said, once again, DC has sort of put themselves into that kind of like I said, I'm going to see B Beetle from where I'm sitting right now in my office. They put themselves in a situation where, you know what? Hey, at least they have people willing to give their product a chance on video on demand. Now, has they got a reputation that wants you to peel out money out of your pocket, 125 or whatever for a family of four to go see? I can't say that they have, and that's unfortunate because some of the movies are good enough. But DC has like I said, they've given you every reason to walk away from the product. It's really hard to justify pulling out a bunch of money when they've done that, you know. So. All right, Jeff Johns, the Eagle Testicle Maniac. Well, yeah, he was at Comic-Con, by the way. I was gonna get his autograph for Enosh. LOL. Stop doing LOL. Stop leading a sentence with LOL. You sound like a little 14-year-old girl. They laughed. Denny Villes, she fucked up his name. Right out of the room, they'd say, "Take your $2 million on and die." No, they won't. They won't. You know why I know this? Because when we were promoting, and this is one I deal with a guy who is really taking care of me as far as our promotion goes. I'm not going to name drop him on here because every now and then he does watch the show. My first movie with him was Blade Runner 2049. And I remember emailing him back and saying, "You know what, man? This movie has brought me. You know, my hands were shaking when I finished watching Blade Runner. That's how great a movie I thought it was. It's great. Blade Runner 2049, along with the original, is my favorite all-time cinematic achievement. Period. And I was disappointed at how I thought it was going to do a lot more. Could do a lot more. And they said, "Yeah, we did too. We were slightly disappointed. You know, everybody wants to make as much money as possible." But then he sent me the email, the for your consideration email for the Academy Awards. They they spent extra money on a movie that quote unquote bombed. Warner Brothers spent extra money on the advertising, on the campaign, the for your consideration campaign, to make sure that not only did it get nominated, but it won. It won. Roger Deakins. Deakins is a 14-time nominee and has done some of the best cinematography out there. And this was his first Academy Award win. Best visual effects. The original Blade Runner is a huge cult classic. It never got that. So yeah, whenever you can repackage, and trust me, within a week they had repackaged Blade Runner 2049's DVD to put Academy Award winner on it. That means something to studios. That kind of prestige means something to a studio, and it will play a factor in their decision making. See the word I use there, William? At least people are willing to see it on streaming. Yeah, but you know, that's not necessarily the consolation prize that we make it sound like. Some people are only going to be able to see these movies on streaming. What do you think would have happened if they released Batgirl movie? The same thing that happened for all the other ones. I think it would have bombed. But I think that it would have been even worse because of the fact that sometimes the general public has an adverse At that time, everything was woke, and now I'm not going to go see it. Where's Batman? You're giving me the chick back. I could have seen the neckbeards and the knuckleheads giving me that action, and the fact that it just wasn't Batman. Even though Batman would have been in it, I always was skeptical about, no matter how much you love Michael Keaton, is he the draw to a generation of millennials who weren't even embryos when his Batman was even relevant. So I don't think it would have made much of a difference. I think the only difference that would have made a dent in DC's situation, the only characters that you could release that would have made a huge difference, feature length and main top billing, is Batman and Superman. And they did everything they could to avoid those characters for 5 years. Of course, they spent extra money. They had to get some mileage out of it. No, dude. Boy. I have a trapdoor button. I'm pushing it right now. I hope you're following through. If it didn't get an Academy Award, they would have packed a Denny ham sandwich and sent them to Razzie. Yeah, no, they wouldn't have, dude. I'm not even going to respond to this because I pretty much know when you're trolling me at this point in the game. So you've had your fun for the night. Dune drew a decent box office, even though it was still day and date release. Yeah, that shocked the hell out of me. I thought Dune was going to bomb. And when it didn't, I was so proud of the general public. But I think Dune 2 is going to be even better. Don't delay. Hashtag don't delay Dune 2. All right. There we go. Forget about all the other hashtags. There's your new hashtag. Do not make me wait for the new Dune movie. Yeah, we were talking about him today, and yeah, like I said, everybody wanted to listen to their favorite YouTubers about all of Snyder's films being bombs, and all of his mainline DC content, being bombs. Now you could make the argument. Even though I just made a better argument for Watchmen, but with the other movies, they were clearly profitable. I mean, you could tell that then. But everybody, thanks. Everybody was looking at the $1 billion standard, which was unfortunate. So, all right, guys. Well, that's it. I've been on for an hour and 20 minutes, and I don't think Fourth is going to get any better if I stay on longer. He's just going to find new ways to troll me. So, yeah, spread that hashtag don't delay Dune because, damn it, that would ruin my damn year. All right, thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for being the best part of this impromptu experiment that I tried tonight. I wasn't planning on coming on tonight, but whenever I feel like getting these geek things out of my system, you guys are always there. So I will not see you tomorrow night. However, I will see you Wednesday night with a straight out of the theater review for Last Voyage of the Demeter, which I pretty much expect to enjoy because I already know everybody dies. I already know that vampire is going to rip people apart, and I know there's destruction. So just from the trailer alone, whenever a trailer has all 3Ds, I know it's right down my alley. So I'll answer this one last thing for Aaron. I think streaming services are great for people who live in very country areas and don't have a local cinema, or busy parents that don't have time to go. That's all true, and financially. The biggest thing for me is financially. It's just really expensive to go to a movie. And like I was telling you guys last night, whenever the coolest thing I do is to be able to send whole families to the movies when we do our promo screenings. Because I truly believe some of them would not be able to fit it into their budget if we weren't able to do it for them. So I'm always happy. That's one of the coolest things I do. So, all right, guys, on that note, I'm out of here. See you later.